Okay, welcome to the 10 podcast sub-series, Tech Culture with Better Culture, and my special guest co-host.
Kevin Hensel.
Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thank you, Shonna.
So we're on Tenet number 10. Tenet 10.
10
How
and
fun.
10, halfway,
Halfway.
halfway to 20.
Yeah, so tell us more.
Yes. So 10 and 10 is gather and sow,
Mm-hmm.
right? And think about that concept, right? Here we are, Nebraska, right? We think about our agricultural roots.
Mm-hmm.
Um, gather and sow is about gathering and sharing compliments. And you think about being thanked or complimented directly and how that makes you feel. But if we gather and sow, meaning I'm out kind of asking people, hey, how is so and so doing? What's going right on this team? Who's doing well? Right? What are the projects you're working on? And then I'm able to go to an individual and say, you know what, I was talking to Mary and she was saying what an incredible collaborative teammate you are,
Mm-hmm.
right? That you're always willing to share ideas, that you're willing to push back a little bit. That's what we need in this role, right? To really get us to the best product or to that level of excellence that we're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
You really appreciate your participation in that way. And Mary really appreciates it, or she wouldn't be telling me.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm such a huge fan of that. I kind of feel like don't be a hoarder, you know? Don't be a compliment hoarder. Like, yeah, well, I heard this great thing, but you need to earn hearing about it.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather tell someone like, hey, the event you led the other day, I've heard great feedback about it. And here's what I heard went well from people that we both respect and admire.
Right.
So that makes a
Right.
really big difference.
Yeah. It's that kind of third party
Mm-hmm.
compliment that has monumental impact.
Yep.
Right. Again, I'm a bit of a people pleaser myself.
Mm-hmm.
I love getting direct compliments. But if I get an indirect compliment, right, that I'm
Yep.
getting a compliment that someone's telling me that someone else had said,
Mm-hmm.
wow, that's a whoa, really?
Right.
They thought that as well?
Mm-hmm.
And so I get the benefit of receiving the feedback, the positive feedback. The individual who's talking to me gets the benefit of being able to be excited to share the information. But then the person who actually told me the information gets the benefit of solidifying a relationship with
Yep.
that individual, right? Now I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to think, wow, I want to continue to really engage with that person
Mm-hmm.
because they're happy with my work or outcomes or whatever the case may be.
Yep.
Yeah.
So how would you what advice, I'm sorry, would you give to an individual who may not seek out and not advice, but input from another person's performance?
Mhm.
So what would you suggest?
Here's a tactic that really I had to use
Mm-hmm.
personally. Schedule it.
Mm.
Put it on your calendar,
Mm-hmm.
right? Sometimes it's difficult for us to just kind of naturally walk about and engage in conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I would actually schedule time to do that, to go out and engage with individuals within the organization, and say, "Hey, what's going well? Who's doing great stuff around here?" Right? So that then I could gather all of these nuggets of information, all of these wonderful things about individuals, and then to be able to go out and sow those,
Mm-hmm.
right? And share the information that I'd received. Again, is it manipulative? It's not. It's celebratory
Right.
is what it is,
Mm-hmm.
right? Again, cynical sense, folks could think, well, but you're kind of purposefully you're scheduling that to make that happen. Yeah, because I want it to happen,
Right.
right? I'm being intentional. I
Mm-hmm.
want to be sure that we are celebrating successes, that we're celebrating people,
Right.
and that we're doing that and being able to sow that across the organization or across a team
Yep.
as much as possible.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And I mean, like, this is a great example. This conversation today is a great example of exactly that. where we are like at the Nebraska Tech Collaborative, Better Culture is super great at this. So we're going to gather your input and then sow it across the internet and tell people like you guys know what you're talking about as it relates to creating great cultures within companies across the state, of course, but beyond our borders and
Right.
just making every place a great place to work.
Yeah.
Right? It makes a lot of sense. So I get that.
Right. It's our mission. And
Mhm.
again, I love our mission of we're on a mission to make the world a better place to work,
Mhm.
right? We spend a third of our adult waking life is somehow either in a workplace or working
Right.
on our career, on our profession. Um, that needs to be the best it can be.
That's
Um,
so good.
Personal motto, right? Life is too short.
Mhm.
And so if again, I'm not getting the feedback, to know, gosh, are am I doing things right? Are folks happy with my performance? Again, the direct feedback is fantastic. The third party feedback,
Mhm.
even more impactful to know, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, this is really interesting. So, gather and sow the context of it from the way that I was described is like we're gathering and sowing positive feedback. But how would you what would you do for feedback that's not maybe positive but still needs to be shared?
sure, yeah, absolutely." Kind of the same concept.
Mhm.
If folks have, "Hey, what's going well here?" and folks take maybe a bit of a negative slant,
Mhm.
that's another conversation that needs to be had.
Mhm.
We're gonna wanna investigate that and address what's necessary. Absolutely, right?
Right.
I will admit the intent of the tenant is on the positive side,
Mhm.
but when you're out there gathering, you might be gathering some critical information that again is necessary that may not be so positive.
Right.
And then obviously the decisions have to be made around how that information is handled
Right.
as well, right?
Mhm.
But I'm a firm believer that from a respect standpoint, which is critical in a positive team or organizational
Mhm.
culture, the most disrespectful thing we can do is not give people the feedback that they need.
I agree.
Right? And we certainly want to elevate and increase, I think, positive feedback,
Yes.
because it is so natural for us to address what's not working
Mhm.
well, right?
Mhm.
That sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yep.
If we're more intentional around the things that are going well, we're going to increase the likelihood that those things continue to happen and
Mhm.
hopefully decrease the likelihood that the negative things are happening.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. And I do, and but whatever. And I do like the appreciation for sharing all sides and to say like, yes, here are some things that are going well, here are some opportunities because it's really important for us as individuals to always to address, or be aware of what we need to be aware of
Right.
and then take the steps we need to take to address them.
Well, and that's why our very first tenet is coachability,
Mhm.
right? That we all should be of a mindset or develop that skill to be of a mindset where we want to continue to get better.
Yeah.
And so we should be thinking about opportunities to be coached and to coach,
Mhm.
as a gift.
Yep. Very good.
Blending our tenants now.
That's right. Right, they're all, like, interconnected, related. Yeah, so
They really are,
yes.
right? It's easy to talk about one
Mhm.
singularly, but then you start seeing, oh, well, if I engage in this particular behavior,
Yes.
I get this ripple
Mhm.
benefit, right? And
Mhm.
and now they start becoming interdependent.
Yes.
But I think that the key to gather and sow is the intentionality of the gathering.
Yep.
Um, but balanced with the sowing, right? It
Mhm.
doesn't do me any good to go out and gather and then hoard that and keep it to myself,
Yeah, exactly,
right?
or to give it back in a way that's like, "Okay, here's a list of things I heard." It's just like, "I'm gonna summarize this for you in a way that's digestible for you to understand, like, here's the positive impact you're having out there even though you may not hear it directly."
Right,
Right? So
right.
that's really cool.
So my coworker may not think to give me that compliment
Mhm.
directly, but when asked, "Oh yeah, here's what's going great.
Yeah.
Here's who's rocking it."
Exactly.
Yeah,
And take it a step further without even being asked. "Hey, Kevin, here's what I just want you to know." Here's
Right.
what's happening, or people are thinking about you. You're doing a great job, and here are ways that you're really having a positive impact here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, very cool.
Well, and when that momentum picks up, right, as part
Mhm.
of the culture, then folks are recognizing the successes and the positive things that are going on, and that starts outweighing the focusing on the challenges and the hiccups and the bumps in the road.
Very good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, another great conversation. We did make it to the full 10 minutes this time. But again, $100 drawing, contribute to the comments, share your thoughts on things that you have done related to this topic. And there will be a drawing after the 20th Tenet is released. So thanks again.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
absolutely.